Hi everybody, in this video we are going to discuss about the first chapter called as the living world. So today we are going to discuss about the diversity in the living world. So this is the next topic in this chapter called as the diversity in the living world. So first of all, when you come outside from your house and look around, you will be coming across different types of plants and animals, even the pet animals and various kinds of all these organisms you will be seeing when you step out and see around you. And in the same way, there will be many microorganisms that will be present around us. So here, we should remember that there are many microbes and also different types of plants and animals that are there around us, including insects and birds and even the pet animals that we have around our house. So here, we also should remember that when you go outside, and if you wanted to discover some new organisms in a new area, please remember, when you increase the area, you will be seeing many number of microbes or many number of plants and animals, insects and birds. So what the point you have to keep in mind is that the more the area is increased, the more the number of organisms you can see. The more the number of organisms you can see as you increase the area. And in the same way, when you go to a desert, or a forest, when you visit a forest, there you will see many number of plants and animals, many number of plants and animals. So what you have to remember here, when you look around, you are seeing many, when you look around, you are seeing many plants, you are seeing many animals, we are seeing, which means even including what now, insects or even the birds also, we said even the birds also we are seeing. And if you are increasing the area, once you increase the area, you can discover many, many or more number of plants and animals, more number of plants and animals. And in the same way, when you look at a desert or a forest, when you look at a forest or a desert, the number of organisms, the number of organisms will be many in number, will be many, the number of organisms, which means again the same thing that we have to remember is plants and animals will be many in number. That's what we have to keep in mind. So now we have to remember that whatever we are observing around us, or in an increased area or in a dense forest, we are coming across different types of living organisms, different types of living organisms. Now if you are looking at each kind of plant, each kind of plant, animal or any organism, each kind we are saying, each kind of plant, animal or any organism, we represent it as what? The species, we represent it as the species. So here you have to remember that each kind of plant or an animal or any organism is called as what? Species. So there are different types of species that we come across, and now they described more than about 1.7 to 1.8 million species that are being identified, million species that are identified. And this is a very important point we have to keep in mind, 1.7 to 1.8 million species are being identified. They are of variety, they are of different types, they are not the same, they are not the same type of organism. Plants and animals are of different types, and we should remember that they are of about 1.7 to 1.8 million types of species are present. And now here what we have to remember is that all these together we call them as what? The biodiversity. So here what do you mean by this? All these 1.7 to 1.8 million species are referred as biodiversity. So here we have to remember that biodiversity means the number and types of organisms that are present on this earth. The number and types of organisms that are present on this earth, and they are more than of how much? 1.7 to 1.8 million we are saying. So here we should remember one more point, that is that when you are exploring, when you are exploring a new area, so suppose let us say that this is a new area that you are exploring. Okay, when you explore a new area, you will be coming across a new type of new or different types of organisms which are very new. Different types of organisms which are very new. And please remember, new organisms are present not only in new area, but even in the old areas. Okay, even in the old areas, if you are discovering or if you are trying to identify a new organism, you can find or you can explore a new organism even in the old area also. In the place where you already explored, there also suddenly at a point of time you can find out a new organism. A new organism can be found out. So here, new organisms can be explored in a new area. New organisms can be explored even in the old area that already been explored. Those points we have to keep in mind. And now these plants and animals should be identified very clearly. So how to identify them? Because when we move from one place to another place or from the place where you are to the other place, the names of these organisms or the plants will be different. So it will be very hard for us to communicate with the other people. In one language, they may be calling one plant within their own mother tongue. And in another language of their own mother tongue, they will be calling that particular plant in their own language. So it will be very difficult for us to understand and identify one particular plant or animal. And because of this, it means that in a particular area, all the people according to their area, they will be giving local names, okay, for a particular animal or for a particular plant, okay. For a particular plant or for a particular animal, in that particular area, they will be giving local names. And these local names are only restricted to that particular area. And if that particular person moves from that area to another place, and if he is using these names, the other person of other language cannot understand when he uses the local names. So that's why the names of an organism should be standardized. Okay, the name of an organism should be standardized. So we will see now what are the names that are given. So we should remember that throughout the world we cannot use the local names when we are trying to identify or describe about one particular plant or animal. So that's why the scientists have come across, or they have framed certain principles and criteria. Based on that, they have given certain names for the plants and animals, so that in wherever we go, we will be using these names only when we are communicating with anybody for that matter. Let it be in India or in any other country. Okay, we will not be using the local names, but it's a rule that we have to use only these names. So this giving the names, okay, giving a name for a plant or an animal, okay, giving a name for a plant or an animal is called as the nomenclature. Okay, the process of giving a name, okay, the process of giving a name for a plant or an animal is called as nomenclature. Please remember this. So why we have to give the names? It is because it will be confusing for anybody if they are using the local names for a particular plant or an animal when they are communicating with a person who don't know their local language. So that's why we are giving a standardized names, so that wherever we go, we will be using those names only. So the process of giving names for a plant or an animal is called as nomenclature. Okay, it's called as nomenclature. But how do you, based on what you will be giving the names? That is very important. Based on what you will be giving the names, the first and the foremost thing that we have to keep in mind in order to give a name for a particular organism is that you have to identify. Means identification of an organism is the first primemost thing that is important. Even though we are seeing, okay, on the board, okay, nomenclature as the first one, but here we have to remember the first and the foremost thing that we have to do is identify that organism based upon its characteristics. Means you have to describe the particular organism. So describing, okay, describing an organism is very important. Okay, describing. Okay, you have to describe that organism, then based upon that description you will be giving the name for that organism. Okay, you will be giving name for the organism. So that we are calling it as what? Identification. Okay, identification. So based upon certain characteristics we identify that organism and give a particular name for that organism. So that we are calling it as what? Nomenclature. Okay, based characteristics, identifying the characteristics and describing is called as identification. After describing the characteristics you are giving a name, that we are calling it as nomenclature. So scientists, based upon certain principles and criteria, they have framed certain names also for this. So if it is for plants, okay, if it is for plants, they use the ICBN. Okay, ICBN. So ICBN means international. Okay, ICBN means international code. Okay, international code for botanical. Okay, for botanical nomenclature. Okay, for botanical nomenclature we call it as, and this word is very important. Okay, this word is very important and we have to keep in mind. Okay, ICBN, it is written in short. Okay, very important. International code for botanical nomenclature. So here in the international code for botanical nomenclature, okay, scientists follow certain principles and criteria to give a particular name for that organism, and we have to use that name only wherever we go, but not using our own local names which we call it, okay, with which we call that particular organism or a plant in our local area. So that point we have to keep in mind. So here remember ICBN, International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. Here it is a hint for us, botanical, which means it is related with what? The plants. Okay, it is related with the plants. So for plants, okay, for plants it is International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. In the same way, the taxonomists, okay, the taxonomists will also use another word, okay, another code called as International Code for Zoological Nomenclature. International Code for Zoological Nomenclature. So here if you are seeing international, okay, international code of zoological nomenclature. Okay, zoological nomenclature. So here the word itself tells here, if you are looking at in this zoology, okay, zoological, so which means zoological means it is talking about what? Animals. Okay, it is talking about animals. So based upon the ICZN, so whenever you are coming across the word ICZN, it means, okay, ICZN, it means it is related with what? Animals. Whenever you are coming across the word ICBN, it means it is related with the plants. Okay, where based on which, okay, they will be giving the names for those plants. So these two words, okay, these two words like ICBN, ICZN are very important, based on which they will be giving the names for the organisms. Okay, they will be giving the names for the organisms. But here we have to make sure that the scientific names that are given for the plants or animals, okay, we should make sure that they ensure that each organism has only one name. Wherever we go, either it is in India or in any other country, that particular organism will be having only one name. It will be called with only one name. That is the scientific name. And that name should not be given for any other organisms. That is very important. So here we have to remember that the scientific names that are given, okay, the scientific names that are given for either for a plant or an animal, ensure that each organism has only one name. It should not be called with any two or three names, and we should not use local names when we move to other places. Instead of that, we have to use the scientific names only, because for wherever we go, for that particular plant or an animal, it is having only one name. That is compulsory. And the next point is that description of any organism should enable the people to arrive at the same name. That's why I said that, you know, when before you give name, that which we call it as nomenclature, okay, when you are describing, your description should be in such a way that it will be ending up with the same name, or everybody everybody, whoever is listening to your description should end up with the same point, which means that they should think that you are talking about only that particular plant. That image or that picture should come into their mind that you are describing about a lion, or if you are describing about a mango plant, that picture should come into their mind that he or she is talking about the mango plant. So that's what is very important. Your description about one particular organism should arrive at the same name. So when you are describing, if I am describing about a mango plant, everybody that who are listening should come to that point. He or she it is about the mango plant they are describing. Or if I am talking about a lion, everybody should understand, yes, it is about the lion. So that is coming to the same name, arriving at the same name. So here you have to remember that description is very important for the people to making the people to understand about that particular organism. And another one, as we already said, should ensure that such name has not been used for any other organism. This is very important. The name that you give for one particular plant or an animal, let it be an insect or a bird or even a microorganism, that name should not be given for any other microbe or an insect or a bird or any other animal or even a plant. Only one particular species, one particular organism should be given one particular name, and that name should not be given for any other organism. So these three are very crucial points to keep in mind when a scientist is giving a name for a particular organism, for a particular organism. So here we understood that there are various types of plants and animals, and all these plants, each kind of plant, animal or an organism, we said that it is a species. And there are more than 1.7 to 1.8 million species are there. It means variety of organisms are there, either it is a plant or animal. That's why we referred it as what? Biodiversity. So we learned about the word species, we learned about the word biodiversity, and we learned about the word nomenclature, and we also understood about the description, description, and that which we mean that identification. Describing an organism is called as what? Identification. This is the first and the primemost thing that we have to keep in mind. And then we have seen how the scientists will be giving the names for the organisms, which is like ICBN, ICBN and ICZN, ICBN and ICZN. ICBN is for plants, ICZN is for animals, and these 3 points are very important, very important. Thank you so much.